All right, ladies and gentlemen, what's up? I'm Charles Woolfork, and this is Jenna Desandolo. When I met you, what was your last name?
Gray.
Great. So this is Jenna Desandolo. I met her and her husband, Psycho. His name is Psycho. He's not Psycho. Well, I think he's not Psycho. I met her and her husband in college back in about 2006. About 2006.
Yep.
And just been cool as hell ever since. And she's gonna release some stuff today. But go ahead and say a little bit about yourself, Jenna.
So we met back in college. Like, I was playing softball and you were playing football.
Yep.
With my husband, who has a real name. His real name is Anthony. A lot of people don't know that. And so, yeah. And now we have 4 kids together, and we're both teachers. And that's been a process, but it took him a little longer than me to get his degree, but he's now living his dream. So we are both, I guess you could say, living the dream, because that was our dream. And yeah.
I love it. And you're a middle school teacher. What grades?
I'm actually in the media center. I am the media specialist now.
Hey.
So I did teach 9th grade English and senior English, and then I was the media specialist at the high school level, and then I came to the middle school.
Congratulations. And this is
6th, 7th, and 8th graders.
Yeah, first year at her new gig and loving it.
First year out of middle school. It's different. It is well, I say different, but really the kids are just shorter. Either these guys are really mature for their age, or the high schoolers were whatever.
Oh my gosh, I love it. All right, so we're gonna release some stuff today. She said she wanted to process and release some fear today.
Yes.
So all right, so let's go ahead. And what is something that you're afraid
of? Well, I guess kind of couple things. I'm always afraid of, like, money, like a fear of not having enough or not having what I need to take care of my kids. And then kind of the other side of that is not giving my kids the things they need to keep them safe and healthy and along those lines. Like, most of my fears are either money or kid related.
Got you. So fear of not having enough money. Let me write that down so I can help you with that fear of not having enough money. Because we're going to remember that. And I messaged it to you so I can remember. All right. So with this fear, is it all right with your unconscious mind for you to release this fear today and for you to be aware of it consciously?
Yes.
Awesome. All right. So there's only 3 things that you need to do in order for you to do this process successfully. Number 1, you need to follow directions. Number 2, you need to use your imagination. And number 3, you need to trust the process. Know that I'm your guide and I'm going to lead you through this easily and effortlessly.
Okay.
Perfect. All right. So this is timeline therapy. And with this type of thing, we are going to use your imagination right here, right now, and create a timeline. So if your past could be to your left, to your right, or behind you, where do you say your past is?
Left.
Where's your future?
Right.
Perfect. All right. That's perfect for me. In fact, mine is the same way. Yes. Mine is the exact same way. And cool. So what is the root cause of the fear? What is the root cause of this problem? The first event, which when disconnected will cause this problem to disappear. If you were to know, when was the first time that you felt fear between the ages of birth and 7? How old were you?
Probably 22, 23-ish, 23.
22, 23? I said birth in 7. That's kind of old.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear birth in 7. Okay.
Between the ages of birth and 7, when was the first time that you felt fear? Now, personally, my mom put the fear of God into me very early when she gave me some spankings. But
just any kind of fear, right? At that point.
Yeah.
I would say probably closer to 7.
Closer to 7. How?
I felt very safe up until then, and about 7 is when probably around then is when I started like being afraid of things, being aware of my surroundings and things like that.
Do you have a specific event in mind?
One day I could think of, we live on a farm,
Mm-hmm.
and my dad was going to go take care of the pigs. And my mom was at bowling, and my sister and I chose to stay in the house and watch our TV show that was on.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't go down there.
Mm-hmm.
And then after about 2 hours, when like whatever we were watching was over,
Mm-hmm.
I was like, well, why isn't Dad home? And so she and I, like, and we didn't get along back then, but we held hands and went with the little flashlight down to the pig area, and my dad's not there. And my mom's at bowling, and now we are freaking out because where's Dad?
Right.
And like, I'm trying to be the bigger sister here and direct her, and like, we're gonna be okay, it's gonna be fine. And like, we live on a road with family, so my aunt and uncle lived across the street, so it's not like we were really alone. But my first thought was like, where is my daddy? Why isn't he here? He's supposed to be down here. And I guess I missed the part where he was going to my grandfather's house, like 2 miles away. And so we ended up going to my aunt's house, but I'm crying and I'm freaking out. Like, when I finally get to help, I just lose it, and I'm crying, and she's like, it's okay, we're going to call. And this is before cell phone, so you can't call him where he's at. So it's like, where's my dad? He's never coming home. He ran away.
He ran away.
Or he died. Like, I was thinking pigs ate him. Like, I went straight to pigs ate him, but my sister said that he ran away. So,
goodness gracious, pigs ate him. And they eat everything too.
They do, yeah.
Wow, that's intense. I love it. I love it. That's a good one. That's a really good one. All right. Seriously. All right. So go ahead and close your eyes and relax. And let me know when you're ready for the process. All right. So just imagine floating up above your timeline, outside of your body, up above your timeline, right here, right now, in this very moment. And above this very spot where you're sitting, and just looking at yourself from a third person point of view. And just see yourself and what you're wearing, all the things around you. Let me know when you're there. Take your time.
Okay.
All right. Now, just imagine floating up above your timeline, deeper and deeper into the past, above that first event in which you felt fear when you were just a little girl. And just look at that little girl and everyone around her. Let me know when you're there.
Okay.
All right. Now, stay right there, looking at that girl, and ask your unconscious mind what it needs to learn from the event. The learning of which will allow you to let go of the emotions easily and effortlessly. Your unconscious mind can preserve the learnings so that if you need them in the future, they'll be there. Just tell your unconscious mind to preserve the learnings. This is an exercise of forgiveness and compassion. Forgiveness for yourself and others, and compassion for yourself and others. Focus your attention upon how you are loved and you are loved. Hurt people hurt people. We're all doing the best that we can with the resources and consciousness that we have. We can't control anyone else's actions, but we can control our response. We can grow stronger and wiser. And we're better people than we were when those events occurred. As you look at that little girl, what is something positive and empowering you can tell yourself and everyone else involved in the event with the consciousness that you have today that will allow the emotions to evaporate like water on the concrete on a hot summer day? And as you preserve these learnings, the emotions are starting to dissipate more and more until they're all gone. Let me know when they're all gone.
Okay.
Awesome. Now, just imagine floating up above your timeline, deeper and deeper into the past, above the dinosaurs. Let me know when you're above the dinosaurs. All right. Now, as you're above the dinosaurs, float deeper and deeper into space, where space and the atmosphere connects. And imagine your timeline as the sides of a fingernail. Let me know when you're there.
Okay.
And as you float there in space, weightless, ask yourself now, where are the emotions? Tell me, are they there or have they disappeared? Now.
Gone.
Awesome. Float down inside the event when you're a little kid and check on the emotions. Tell me, are they there or have they disappeared? Now.
Gone.
Awesome. Float back above the dinosaurs and then float into space where space and the atmosphere connects. Let me know when you're there. All right. Now, listen closely. Float high above each and every event in which you felt fear, from birth until now in chronological order. Preserve the learnings and let go of all the fear, all the way back to now. Go. Once again, float high above each and every event in which you felt fear, from birth until now in chronological order. Preserve the learnings and let go of all the fear, all the way back to now. Also focus on the fear of not having enough money. Focus your attention upon how you're a survivor. Hurt people hurt people. We're all doing the best that we can with the resources and consciousness that we have. We can't control anyone else's actions, but we can control our response. We can grow stronger and wiser. And we're better people than we were when those events occurred. Float high above each and every event in which you felt fear. And don't come back to now until all the fear is gone. Float high above each and every event in which you felt fear, from birth until now, in chronological order. Preserve the learnings and let go of all the fear, all the way back to now, including the fear of not having enough money. Focus your attention upon how you're a survivor. Hurt people hurt people. We're all doing the best that we can with the resources and consciousness that we have. We can't control anyone else's actions, but we can control our response. We can grow stronger and wiser. And we're better people than we were when those events occurred. Float high above each and every event in which you felt fear, from birth until now, in chronological order. Don't skip one, and don't come back to now until all the fear is gone. And when all the fear is gone, you let me know. Take your time. Take your time. Float high above each and every event in which you felt fear, from birth until now, in chronological order. Don't skip one, including the fear of not having enough money. Preserve the learnings and let go of all the fear, all the way back to now. And don't come back to now until all the fear is gone. Focus your attention upon how you're a survivor. Hurt people hurt people. We're all doing the best that we can with the resources and consciousness that we have. We can't control anyone else's actions, but we can control our response. We can grow stronger and wiser. And we're better people than we were when those events occurred.
Okay.
Awesome. Float down into your body and open your eyes when you're ready. Welcome back. You got to shake that one up. You're like, what? Do you smell biscuits?
No.
Okay. I say that so I can break the state of mind.
I smell the Germex I used earlier.
All right. So, can you remember a time in the past in which you used to feel that old emotion? And go back and notice if you can feel it, or you may find that you cannot.
Like the things that I thought about?
Sure.
Yeah, no, it doesn't quite feel the same. Because like one thing I thought about was when I found my oldest like lifeless in a pool. And then I was pregnant with my daughter, so I jumped in the pool to save him, and my sister jumped in after, and like she threw him up on the side, and like, he came to, but my entire, like, since that event, I've always thought, like, could I have given him CPR? Could I have been calm enough to do CPR? And I felt guilty because I didn't know that he had gone back to the pool because we had just gotten out. And I felt like just forever, I have this fear of water, like to the point that I won't have a pool because I'm terrified of my kids in water. I mean, he's 12 years old and I make him wear a life jacket to go fishing on the bank because I'm afraid he could fall in.
Right.
And it doesn't feel the same, like, because I was able to forgive myself. Like, I didn't know that he would go back to the pool.
Right.
I didn't know that, like, we didn't have a pool growing up, so I didn't really know that when a kid goes missing and there's a pool nearby, check the pool first.
Right.
And like that wasn't even, and again, we had just gotten out of the pool, so I didn't even think that was like where he would go.
Right.
And he was trying to show everybody that he could swim without his floaties, and he could not. But that was, and then just that, and since then, I've gotten CPR training for infants and for other kids. Like, I had been CPR trained before, but I recertify every year now, and I do the infant training because I don't ever want to be in a situation like that where I'm like, could I have done this? Could I have saved my kid's life if my sister hadn't been there? And so, like, I can't go back and change what happened, but, you know, now I've done better.
Right.
I've taught myself better. But that doesn't mean that I didn't let it go, because like I was holding on to that, like, that I couldn't believe that I didn't know where he was. I couldn't believe that I didn't know if I could take care of him. But I've since then done better. Yeah.
So you still kind of felt that fear of like, oh, where is he, and how can I prevent him from
I still have
going
nightmares.
through that? Yeah, wow. Oh, cool. So we'll see if you still have those nightmares later on. That is awesome.
And not just him, but I have nightmares of like all my kids when it comes to water, but he's the only one that I have that with. Like, I've had dreams of sitting on a dock, holding them, looking out at the water, and like dropping them in the water. Like, they slip through my hands and I can't get them. And like that, like most of my nightmares involving my kids has to do with them drowning.
Yeah. But so that fear doesn't weigh the same anymore on your heart.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't.
It's cool. What about that fear of not having enough money? Excuse me.
So that one, I had to kind of convince myself that I've made some poor decisions with money along the way, or that collectively as a couple we've made poor decisions, and like it is getting better, and tell myself that we always found a way to make it work. Like, we've never gone hungry, even though it felt like we were going to go hungry.
Yeah.
You know, like, how am I going to feed these kids? Like, they still got to eat. But we've always managed to eat. We've never gone hungry. We've never actually done without, and like the bills are paid.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've always managed for it to work, but I've always just had that fear that, is it enough? Is it gonna work? Or am I gonna be able to pay the bills and feed the kids?
Mm-hmm.
What point, like, do you just say like, that's not important. I don't need
Mm-hmm.
that this week, you know? Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't need a phone, but we need to eat, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I get that fear, like going back and thinking of it rationally,
Mm-hmm.
saying like that was irrational to think that I wouldn't have it because like I'm gonna have it, like it's
Right.
gonna be there.
Always. Always. You're always gonna have enough.
But when you don't think you have enough, like the
Mm-hmm.
initial, like a couple days before bills are due, before I get paid and bills come out kind of thing,
Yeah.
those 2 days I am a nervous wreck because I'm afraid, like, now my checks are stable. Like I pretty much get the same thing every month.
Right.
So I know what's coming in unless
Yeah.
I'm getting more.
Yeah.
I'm always like, do I have enough? Are we going to be okay? Like always right around bill time.
Wow. So it would be super interesting to see like how you react now after
Right.
this, because it's like, are you gonna be tripping out? You'd be like, oh yeah.
Like next Thursday when I'm getting ready to get paid, like my mind starts churning. And there's been a couple times that I've had issues just within the school board where they had messed up my check, or when I came back off maternity leave, they didn't tell me like, if you come back in this month, you won't get a check during the summer. So summer comes along and I don't get a check. Like just out of the blue, I didn't have any money, and I'm like,
dude,
you didn't tell me this. Like,
yeah, it's like that's not cool.
and that happened. That was one time, and then another time, they accidentally paid me for when I was on maternity leave, but they didn't tell me that they would take back like 1.5 checks of mine to pay it back.
Mm-hmm.
So like right after I had worked, I'm like, I worked all this and you took my check back from me.
Yeah.
So now I have such a distrust of my payroll department that just about a week before every paycheck, I'm like, hey, what's my check going to be next week?
Yeah,
Just so that I know that I'm getting something and what it's going to be.
So how does that feel now?
It feels better because like I know that the distrust thing is really like, I don't have any events going on that's going to prevent me from getting a check.
Mm-hmm.
Like I know that I have been at work and I haven't missed anything to like not have money.
Yeah.
And it helps knowing like now that Anthony's working as a teacher, like I have steady income coming in.
Excuse me.
Because when he was at a different place, he got paid weekly, but those checks fluctuated based off the hours they gave him.
Mm-hmm.
And now his checks are steady like mine.
Right.
They're the same every paycheck. And we actually elected for him to get paid twice a month. So I know that he's getting like, I know in 15 more days, I've got more money coming in. So I just have to tell myself, like, I just have to make it these 15 days and just these 15 days. And I just basically 15 days at a time, but I'm making, it's got me thinking of like smarter decisions I could make to kind of lessen the load.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Nice little budget. Crunching those numbers.
We've always had a budget, but the running joke is like, how do you budget nothing? Like we haven't had much to budget. But
yeah.
like if you have limited funds coming in, like here's the bills. But,
yeah.
but it's better and it's getting better.
Heck yeah,
And
all the
so
time.
it helps to not have, that's probably been our biggest thing is like, how can we not stress money?
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, I hate that you get like that. But right around bill time, like 2 days before bills are due and money, he's like, calm down.
Right.
We always make it work.
Right. We'll work more on that one separately, because there's probably more of a root to it that's involving your parents, probably. You know what I mean?
My parents didn't. It's funny because we've talked about that quite extensively. He and I have, because I always thought we were poor growing up.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought we never had money.
Yeah.
My mom's like catchphrase was always, like, I don't have money for that, or I can't afford that, or like she would always throw out like how much we spent at a softball tournament, you know, and so I always heard like money and how much things cost. And meanwhile, like we had new cars and we had like property and cows, and like we had money, but like I didn't realize like the value of things. And to the point that I wouldn't even ask for things. Like when we would go somewhere, my dad would be like, even the Dollar Tree, my dad would always say, like, you can get 3 things. And I would be like, you can give my things to them. I don't need this, because we don't have the money for it. I don't want to be the one that's taking away from the family. And so like I would almost self-sacrifice. Like, I don't want that because I don't need it. And my sisters would be like, oh, cool, I'll take her 3 things. Or like we would compromise and like get something that we both could play with, and then she could get extra. But then like Anthony's family actually did struggle financially, and he never knew it. They always hid it from him, and like Christmas was always like blown out. Whatever he had wanted, he got. But like they really struggled and pinched and saved and worked extra jobs, whatever, to get that for him.
Wow.
And so he grew up thinking that he had money, and I grew up thinking I didn't have money, and it was quite the opposite.
So you see how that mentality that you're modeling, the mentality of your parents in the long run, both of you guys.
Yeah, because he's always like, we've got it. It's fine.
No, we're not fine.
I'm like,
wake up.
Look at this. Okay, see that 0 right there? That's not a good number.
So we'll do, when we process and release the anger and the sadness, we'll also go ahead and process and release that mindset, because it's just a scarcity mindset that you're modeling from someone else, but you have a totally different reality than your parents. So let's go ahead and shift that. Let's shift that to the proper mindset that you need in order to not stress so much, and also to attract even more in the long run. Yeah. And last but not least is that let's go ahead and check up on that fear that you had with your dad. How does that situation feel now?
It almost feels comical.
Yeah,
right. Because I mean, I remember I was terrified. Like I kept saying, like, I have to be the big sister. I have to get my sister to safety. Even though like we were legit safe, just chilling in the house. Like even if he wasn't there, just go back and like we could have gone back inside and turned on the TV and just watched another show. But now that we know that we're alone, we're like thinking monsters and things are coming out the closet, you know, all that irrational stuff. Like, everything bad that could happen is going to happen right now at this moment. And so going to my aunt's house was a rational thing to do, considering. But we were still sitting over there crying like banshees, you know, just like, yeah. And like, it's okay. Like, we know where he's at. Like we figured it, you know. But looking back, I could have definitely been more like, let's just go inside and chill.
Right.
I didn't realize how clingy I was.
I didn't know you thought pigs were that vicious. God.
No, see, but what you don't know is I was chased by a wild hog.
Oh no! Okay.
Having a pig farm draws like pigs from all over.
Oh yeah.
And so there's been a couple times that I was chased by a wild hog, and that probably happened even before the event with my dad. Like in processing things.
Yeah.
Like one day I was going down to the pig farm area, and this giant freaking wild boar comes out of the bushes and like chases me, and I'm running, and apparently my dad saw this and thought it was hilarious, even though he knew like the danger of a boar chasing me.
Right.
Which is probably why I'm a laugher now. Fear, like if someone falls, like I will help you up, but I will be laughing. But my mom had pulled in as I'm trying to get away from this hog, and I ended up jumping like on her hood of her car and was like scrambling to get very far away from it. And then my dad came over and like, of course, shot the pig and everything. Because that's the only way you can like stop that. Like they're not going to just run away. And yeah, and so I was terrified of pigs like that. Like it could kill you.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah.
So
I
thought,
mean, I thought I was gonna die. That it's over. I'm done.
Yeah.
Coming home, you know. Like that day, I knew I was like toast. And
so the monster pigs ended up eating your dad, is what you thought.
Right, like yeah, he fell, and like the pigs got him, and like he's done. Like it was such an irrational. But at the time, it was so real. Like the pigs killed my father. Like, you know,
God.
like he fell in the swamp down there, and like I'm never gonna see him again. Like it was
the rough.
1,000 Ways to Die has really done a number on.
Oh my God! You don't need to be watching stuff like that, especially when you live in a freaking swamp.
I do tell people all the time, like, I can't watch stuff like that. You see where I live? Like, we're like an episode of 1,000 Ways to Die waiting to happen.
For real. It's you
falls
guys
off tractor, you know, something.
What's the biggest lesson that you learned about yourself from the process?
I have a really, like, I'm pretty good about staying calm under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
But then like the after effects get me. Like when I have time to think and process, I don't process okay, you got through it, you know, you did this. My process afterwards tends to be like, oh my God, that could have been so much worse.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't, instead of I've always, and Anthony hates this about me too, because I do it. I'm like, I prepare for the worst, and then when it doesn't happen, I'm surprised. Except that I don't really do it that way, because like I prepare for the worst, and then I think of like what would I have done, and I keep preparing for the worst, even though the worst obviously didn't happen. And like I was going through, my daughter was bit by a snake when she was 4, and probably like the doctors are almost sure it was poisonous, because like the puncture wounds it left on her leg, and it swelled her leg all the way up to almost her hip, her ankle. Like it was all like one big, like almost like a tree trunk. And it was swollen and bruised, and it was just gross. And like the night before we end up getting discharged, the nurse came in and said, like, you need to prepare for the worst. She's probably not going to make it. And of course, Anthony and I are both just like losing our minds, because like that's our baby girl. And like probably the worst part was like she looked fine other than her leg being swollen, but they were like, there's a lot going on inside her body you don't see. And I really struggled with that, because I'm like, she's fine, I'm looking at her and she looks fine. And I kept thinking like I should have been outside. Like I was inside doing my homework for my master's course, and he was outside with kids, like picking up the yard and stuff. And she just happened to walk in the high bushes and got bit by a snake. And I'm thinking like we should have not had the high bushes. We should have, like, she should have had shoes on. You know, where we live, like shoes are optional, but she should have had shoes on. Maybe if I was out there too, instead of doing my homework, maybe I could have had eyes on her, and, you know, whatever. But like going through this, I was able to say to myself, like, it's okay that you weren't outside, because even if there wasn't an adult right there, they were in the yard, and like there's nobody around. And, you know, as soon as that happened, as soon as she was discharged, because the next morning, so the doctor came in and was like, no, she's good. She's like, if her numbers are good on this last blood draw, you guys will actually go home in the morning.
Oh, nice.
It's like, I don't know why the nurse said that to you to scare you. Ugh. So he was like, I don't know why she said that. The numbers were high, but if those numbers had happened like the day before, it was like they look at a formula, how many days after the bite versus where the clotting levels are, and like they had leveled out. So, but she looked at them kind of invertedly, and so she got it twisted. He's like, she shouldn't have even said anything. But this was the first like snake bite on a child they had seen in that hospital. And the doctor himself was like, I'd only ever seen 2 snake bites in my life. So they're not as common as you would think living in like Florida.
Thank God.
But they couldn't give her anti-venom because we didn't know what snake. Like they were showing her pictures of snakes and she repeatedly identified a rattlesnake, but she was 4 and they're like, do we trust that? And so they would only give anti-venom if there was no other hope. Like if all was lost and she was going to die anyways. And then they would take the calculated risk and go with, rattlesnake.
So you were the type to just keep tripping on that over and over and over again.
Yeah. What if those levels weren't good? What if we had to make a decision on which anti-venom to give her?
Yeah.
What if I guessed wrong? What if she wasn't standing here today?
Right.
What if I had been outside? What if we had been better? We'd always mowed the grass, but there was like one area that like had a lot of weeds and sticks, rocks and stuff that we didn't want to get in there and take the time to clean up. What if we had done that? And like immediately I said, you need a chainsaw and you need a weed whacker.
Yeah, right away.
And like that spot has been pristine ever since. Like I don't let the grass get above ankle high anymore anywhere on my property because of that. And just where we live, I mean, we live on 1,600 acres, so snakes are there.
Yeah.
Like there's hardly anything on the property that, we have coyotes and snakes, and I mean, we've been told that there's bears every now and then. I don't know. I haven't seen those, but it's out there. So I keep it like since then I've done the best I can. I wasn't out there. I can't change that I wasn't out there. She didn't die. We didn't have to make a call. Like we didn't have to make that call. But yeah, that's always been like in my head, like, what if I had to, just like with Mason, what if I had to do CPR on him? Could I have done it? What if I had to make the call of which anti-venom to give her? Would I have made the right choice? And that was hard for me because like I couldn't possibly know that.
So like
didn't come to that, but
so like how has your mindset shifted?
Because I realize now that that even if I had made the wrong call, but either way, like it didn't come to it. Like I don't know why I'm dwelling on what would I have done, because it doesn't matter. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
But probably 20 minutes ago, you couldn't convince me that, because that still is a huge fear of mine. Like, did I make the right call? But there was the call to make.
Yeah. So it's like, doesn't matter.
But believe you me, that it was definitely something I worried about.
Yeah. How does that feel now that you let a lot of that fear go?
It feels kind of like almost tingly. Like it's really weird. Like it's like I'm expecting to have some sort of like tense moment over it, and I don't.
So it was easy. Was it easier than you? I mean, it was pretty easy, huh?
Yeah, it really was. I was really thinking I was gonna have to like more than one session, if you will, because there's like fear is that like one thing that I guess that I'm just like I hold on to pretty, like anger. I'm pretty good at letting go of things, typically. Like I might have some like repressed anger on some issues, but for the most part, like I'm pretty chill. I'm pretty easy to get along with. I let things go, except like if it made me fearful for some reason, like you can bet I'm gonna like think about it. Like, how could I have handled that better? What could I have done? Like I'm always the overanalyzer. I guess I'm a true Virgo in that sense. Like I'm always gonna analyze what I could have done differently. But that doesn't always mean that my analyzing it brings me to a place of peace. Most of the time, my analyzing it brings me to a place of like, oh, I could have
anxiety. So in the future, I want you to go out into the future to an unspecified time in the future, in which, if the same thing would have happened in the past, you would have felt irrational fear or unwarranted fear. And notice if you can find that old emotion, or you may find that you cannot. Okay.
It almost seems silly.
Yeah.
It almost seems silly to like in the moment, like for her, and for instance, if like it's okay to look at the numbers and be afraid, and like when the nurse came in and said like we might lose her, be afraid, but then like almost like the reflection piece, like the after effects, it seems silly to even think about now, because why think about something that didn't happen?
Right.
Or why think about it that way, because that's not how it went down. And like I've almost built up like this second narrative in my head that didn't need to happen.
Right. Like the one full of anxiety and fear and stress.
Let me just add more to this. Yeah, no.
I think, you know, before we started recording, you said you wanted to get rid of stress. And that's when you said it was probably related more to fear. So I feel like that you'll have less stress because you don't have that trigger anymore to go straight, to go straight to fear. Is something where you can think about things rationally, and you're a survivor, and you're tough as nails, and you can just go through events, and you can just, like you said, think rationally and have a different perspective on it. One that's hopefully with a bit more optimism.
Instead of the world's crashing down, my dad's gonna get ate by pigs.
Right.
I really don't know how I got there.
Hey, I'm excited to do the other emotions with you, anger and sadness, and also that limiting belief and other limiting beliefs that you have. And thank you for doing this, and this recording and this podcast. This will help out so many people, you know, who have a similar story to you.
Like being ate by pigs.
Yeah, pig eating, daughter
right.
snake biting daughters. Or
you know, but those are pretty. I think back, those are pretty traumatizing events.
Yes.
But then, like the after effects, you know, I went off the deep end with the level of afterwards. So hopefully it helps somebody.
So I'm gonna check on you, and we're gonna get like a follow-up recording on this, so you can tell people how you feel afterwards as well.
Okay.
Yeah, be like, oh, Charles, you're full of crap. It doesn't work. It wore off. It tingled for a little while.
Yeah. For sure. Well, you know, I'll be honest. So.
Of course. Which is, I don't know how much money do I have. I got like. No, this is not a paid performance. But thank you. I'm gonna turn off the recording, but just thank you so much. I want to say that on this recording that I appreciate you, and also if anybody else wants to sign up for a session with me, it's on my website. You go to my website, charleswoolfork.com, and I'm more than happy to demonstrate what I did with Jenna with you as well. And with that, I'll talk to you on the next. Is there anything that you want the people to know? Are you selling anything?
No,
yeah.
we're good.
Avon? No Avon?
No Avon.
All right. But check me out on my website, charleswoolfork.com, and check me out on my Instagram, charleswoolfork_. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, I will talk to you guys later. I'll see you guys on another episode. Thanks again, Jenna.
Welcome.
Peace.